Be your authentic self. Step into your power. Don't let others take your power away. What the hell does that even mean, right? Well, today, let's talk about it while we work on our crap together. Last week, we discovered that one of the reasons that our manifestations aren't coming in is because we don't feel like we're worthy of it. We don't think that we deserve it. So I took that back, wrote my prompt, and did some journaling. And some stuff came up, kind of like we talked about on the video anyway. There's a fear of succeeding, it's a fear of judgment. But there was also something that came up about authenticity, being authentic, being my true self, stepping into my power. And I got to thinking, I hear that all the time on videos on the TikToks or the YouTubes. And sometimes I think to myself, what I am staying in my power. I am being authentic. So really, what does it mean? Because I know a lot of you out there probably think the same thing. I am being who I'm supposed to be. I feel powerful. I don't let others bring me down. So let's really talk about what it means to stand in your own power. And to do that, I believe there are three parts. One is being authentic. Two is not letting other people take your power. And three, boundaries. So as I went throughout the week this week after I journaled, I kept getting channeled messages and things that I should talk about when going through this. And I wrote down notes here so I wouldn't forget them because I'm old and forgetful sometimes. So if you see me look down, that's what it is. So being your authentic self, which is the first part, what does that really mean? A lot of times we think that we are being exactly who we are, who we are on the inside. That's what projects outside. But most of the time we think that that's really not the case. We find ourselves copying others. We find ourselves seeing what makes other people successful, and we try to do the same thing. Then we get upset when it's not happening. Well, that's their way to do things. So being authentic is really about taking your true ethics, your feelings, the ideas that you have, and acting on them, no matter what people are going to say about it, right? Stop doing what you feel other people are doing to be successful and do what you need to be successful. Okay, that is what that means. And what is an example for that? Well, a good example I can think of right now is exactly what I'm doing this YouTube video. If you saw how many times it usually takes me to do one of these, probably wouldn't astound, maybe it might astound you, might. I'm talking like starting at 5, 10, 85,000 times and then stopping because the light was wrong or there was something on my face or I said something I thought somebody might think I was stupid. So I'd start it and redo it. One thing I decided to do tonight with this video is that no matter what I say, no matter what goes on, I'm not going to stop it. I'm not going to edit it. I'm going to upload it exactly as I spoke. And that is the way that I feel to be authentic. So my practice in helping myself today is by being authentic this way, talking the way that I would talk to any friend. If I had a lot of friends, friends that I have this conversation with. Okay. So being authentic really is being yourself, saying the things that you need to say, using your ideas, keeping your ethics, and understanding that you don't have to do things the same way other people do. In fact, you're probably never going to. So the second part of really stepping into your power for me is not letting other people take your power away. So what does that mean? I mean, really, what does that mean? Well, it is letting what other people think, or more importantly, what you perceive other people think, make you shy away from being authentic. So what are some examples of that? One would be, let's say you text somebody and you send them something very important and then they don't reply. And 5 minutes later, they still haven't replied. 30 minutes later, they haven't replied. And this whole time, you're checking your phone. You're wondering, what are they going to think about this? Are they mad? What's going on? Why haven't they replied? Well, they've taken away your power to continue the rest of the day because you're so focused on what their response to what you have to say is going to be. Okay? Or let's say you post something in social media and you're constantly checking it to find out who liked it. How many likes does it have? Why didn't this certain person like it? More importantly, why didn't they like it? What's wrong? Why do they hate me? What's going on? Well, I think it's this. That is where we get into perception. Okay? Just because someone is not doing something the way that you prefer it doesn't mean they automatically hate you or they automatically think something is wrong. That's the first place a lot of us goes, is your perception. You're trying to put into your mind what you think other people are thinking. And that just screws you up on all types of levels. So the easiest way to keep people from taking your power back is not to give it away to them to begin with. Okay? Send the text message. Don't worry about it. Keep going. Don't worry about what other people have to say about you. Or even better, don't worry about what you think other people are going to say about you. The easiest way to keep people from taking your power is to not even give them the chance to, right? So the third part of really stepping into your power is boundaries. And I know that's hard sometimes. But setting boundaries is something that's important in all of our lives. And that is not just you can't come within this section of me, right? It is about, I won't let you talk to me that way. Or I'm not going to do this because it doesn't make me comfortable. Okay? Now, the thing about boundaries, though, that's kind of tricky, is you have to announce them. You have to let people know what those boundaries are. Because if you have boundaries and you don't tell people what they are, you're just asking for heartache, right? It's your own fault that you're upset somebody crossed your boundaries if they don't know the boundaries are there. So an example for this would be, I have this standing rule, I guess you could say boundary, that I don't allow people to talk to me in a way that my mother didn't talk to me. Okay? And I usually give them one chance. They do it and I immediately say, don't talk to me like that. If my mother didn't talk to me like that, you're not going to talk to me like that. Most of the time, they stop because that is a boundary I've set in. Now, if I didn't say that and they kept doing it to me, yeah, they're assholes for doing it. But two, I never told them that that was not allowed. Okay, so then I get upset and I should be upset at myself. Okay, so what's another example? Oh, I've got one. Okay, and this is just, let's just say it's fiction. Anything that I may talk about that may have resemblance to people living or dead is purely coincidental. So let's just come up with a subject. Let's say that I happen to be cooking dinner for family. Okay. And let's say I'm in the kitchen cooking. Everybody's having a great time. And I start fixing a dish that goes well with the rest of what I'm cooking. And one family member comes up and says, oh, what are you fixing there? And I tell them, hey, I'm fixing this lovely dish that will go great with the rest of the meal. And they say, oh, that's great. And they walk away. So I continue cooking the meal, this is purely fiction. Stuff like this doesn't happen, right? So I continue fixing the meal. And another male family member comes up and say, hey, what are you fixing? And I say, I'm fixing this lovely dish that will complement this meal very well. They say, okay, great. Thank you. I appreciate that. So then let's say I finish cooking and everybody starts eating. And I look around and nobody is eating that lovely dish that I made to complement the meal. And I ask the question, why isn't anybody eating this dish? And one person says, well, really didn't want it. And another person says, oh, I don't eat that. And then another person says, oh, I didn't even know it was there. And so I get upset, if this were to have really happened. I get upset and then start calling them all ungrateful because they didn't spend the time cooking it. Now, that was a boundary that they crossed for me, right? So I'm upset and I flip the table and they all leave and say, you've ruined another great dinner, right? If this were to happen, that may be the way it went. So the question is, do I have the right to be upset? I mean, some people will say, yeah, you do, because you spend all that time and money fixing that lovely dish that would complement the meal, right? But they came up and asked me, right, what are you cooking? And I told them, this is what I'm cooking. And they had the opportunity to tell me, oh, I don't like that. Or I don't want that tonight. But they didn't. So whose fault is it? Well, it is kind of still mine. Because I didn't say, oh, do you like this? Am I wasting my time fixing this? Or, hey, I'm thinking about cooking this. Is anybody going to eat it? So there's a fine line between who's to blame on that, right? But really, I'm mad at myself because I didn't ask the question. And now I've wasted the groceries, I've wasted the time, and the table is in the middle of the floor, upside down. If that were to happen. So that's why it's important to set boundaries. Because if you don't set them, you're just setting yourself up for failure. You're going to get pissed off. Now, why am I talking about this tonight? One of the reasons, like I told you, is because in my journaling, I figured out that yes, I still do let people take away my power. I still let them keep me from being authentic because I'm afraid of what they're going to say. I've got that perception. I've put the perception on there that so and so just doesn't like me and they're not going to like anything I put out there. Why am I letting that stop me from what I need to do, from being my authentic self? And that's questions that you really need to ask yourself too. What is so important about what these other people think that's going to influence your life? This is your life. You live it the way that you need to live it. And the best way to do it is being authentic and stepping into your power so that you can take the control away from other people. That way, if you make a mistake, at least you know it was you that made it and not the perception of what somebody else thinks you that's making you make it, right? So what can we do to practice making this better? One thing that you can practice by, and this kind of helps with boundaries and, keeping other people from taking your power, is practice saying no to one thing this week. Not in a mean way, just say no. All of those things that you just say yes to because you don't want to deal with the consequences or I just want to make this person happy. Say no. And start understanding that by saying no, you're taking your power back. You're not letting them get to you. Now, one thing too about being in your power, some people will misinterpret that as that means I've got to be more aggressive. That means I've got to be egotistical. That's not really the case either. That is not really standing in your power. It's trying to take everybody else's, right? So again, there's a fine line between staying in your power and just being an asshole. Okay. So learn that difference. What is something else that we can do for practice? Something else you can do to practice being authentic is just post something online. Post what you feel. Don't worry about what the reactions are going to be. Don't worry about what family members are going to like it. Don't worry about what friends are going to like it. Post it and then ignore it for at least 3 hours. Now, it'd be perfect if you ignored it for about 24, but come on. We're really dependent on social media these days, and who hardly can stay off social media, right? So give it some time. Don't go back and constantly check it. Because if you're checking it, you're not in your power. You're letting other people take that from you. So that's a really good practice to do. I think the next thing that we should practice is do something to make you smile. Not because it will give you your power back or not because it'll make you more authentic, but because sometimes you just need that little bit of happiness to get by in the day, right? And a smile can really change your day, especially if you're doing something that makes you smile. So do that and see how much that helps you bring your power back and step into your authenticity. I know how difficult it can be to let go of the people-pleasing tendencies we have. It's really hard because at the end of the day, all anybody wants is to be liked, to be loved by people you know, by people you may not know. That's really what most of us want. And once you learn that it doesn't really matter what other people think, the easier it becomes to step into your own power. So take care of yourself, and I'll see you next week when we continue to work on our crap together. Thank you.